Good morning to our public audience, our media speakers, and our key influencers. I am Clotilde Schnell. I am IoT solutions expert in Huawei, and it's a pleasure today to host the Optical Hospital solution release launch event here in Paris Open Lab. So, just to start, I would like to introduce on stage, let us welcome Mr. Huawei Lan, the President of Huawei France, to deliver a keynote speech of Huawei France and France's healthcare strategy. Please, Mr. Huawei Lan.
Hello. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome again to our Open Lab. So I'm very honored to welcome all of you to open this ceremony for our medicine industry solution. So as you know, Huawei today has very exposed in front of the world with a lot of things. So one of the major is the 5G. The 5G is, as you know, is a very advanced technology, but I would like to say that the 5G is just one of the evolution technology from the 3G, 4G, and today we have 5G, and tomorrow, absolutely, we will have 6G. So this is a very smoothly revolution technologies. And another thing is the 5G cannot be working alone without the other technology to make the world more intelligent. For example, some of the technology we talk also every day that the intelligence, artificial, and also the big data technology. So all this technology is much more applicated today in the world to have the more intelligent world in the future. So today, I think this is a very good opportunity that we welcome the Germany company led by Mario, founded, he will speak later, to have this ceremony together, because the 5G will be firstly, I think, implemented in the industry of medicine. Yeah. So the 5G, as you know, many people say that the 5G will shape the world, but the 5G cannot shape the world without the other support. So the medicine is the industry. 5G will much more implemented in the industry than the 4G technology. So as you know that in 4G area, or in 4G stage, that we have founded a lot of change from our the life every day. So you have different applications to increase your life quality, such as you using Uber, you use the APP for your food delivery. But in the 5G, so we can see that there will much more implicated in the industry than in the life every day. Why? Because today the industry is a little bit behind for the digitalization. Give you an example. For example, the autonomous car. Autonomous car is a future technology or future car, but the autonomous car is not the responsibility of the car makers such as PSA or Renault. Yeah, autonomous car is much more also useful for the other technology, such as intelligence artificial, such as analysis in the big data, such as also 5G, such as also different type of radar or LiDAR, high performance. Yeah, and a lot of technology for the transmission, such as also the fiber technology and also regulation as well. So the technology is becoming a very complex. Yeah, so nobody today can say that I will even create a new phone or new car by our own self. It is not possible. So for the medicine technology today that we are going to launch is very interesting, because in many countries, including in China, that there's a huge lack of the resource of the medicine. Yeah, and also a lot of data from the medical source that cannot be correctly found and rapidly found. So technology with the technology support such as 5G and AI that can help the doctor find easily the diagnostic and the right information and help them to make the right treatment. So I think this is the objective. So I think I will leave more maybe a speech to Mario to present later for the solution, particularly in this industry of medicine. Thank you very much.
So thank you, President Mr. Huawei Lan, for bringing us such a blueprint of innovative technologies of Huawei in the healthcare industry. Huawei's innovative technology to help healthcare digital transformation require a great ecosystem with qualitative and very insightful partners. That's why today I would like to invite Mr. Mario Cristiani, the Executive Chairman of Schnell LiFi, to bring a keynote speech, Huawei Relationships Schnell LiFi France. Please, Mr. Mario Cristiani.
Merci. Bonjour, Madame et Monsieur. Je voudrais parler en français, but my French, to be honest, is not really good. It was from school times, so this is 40 years ago. Even I make some school exchange. Je voudrais du lait, je voudrais un café, but that's all. So sorry for this. So I need to continue in English. I was, in October, I was in Paris. This time I was here with my foster daughter. And we saw the Louvre, of course. We go to Montmartre. And we also take the elevator to the top of the Eiffel Tower. And to be honest, this was a challenge for me. I was really afraid about this. And now we have also another challenge. We have the challenge to bring those Schnell LiFi products to those people who need the product and to those use cases who need the product. And this time I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid because one point is our CIO, Suthe Shitaran, will tell you more about the product. I think the product is great. Second, I think Huawei is great. And they are also not only big, they are really fast. Because imagine, they made it happen within 3 months. I think the first contact was 3 months ago, and now we are here. They make a great job. We have a great audience now here, and it's fantastic. Thank you very much for being here and to make this happen. The third thing is, I think that the healthcare industry will increase. I'm sure about it. I read a statistic some weeks ago, and it was about the average of a population. And of course, the first one was Japanese, which I think was nearly 50 years old. And I'm thinking 100, 200 years ago, 50 years was not the average of a population. It was the average of someone was dying at those times. The second was Italy. I didn't know about it. It was also 48 or something. And fifth position was Germany. It was about 45. For me, it's still young. I would be pleased about 45. But for an average population, it's very old. And I think there are 14 countries out of 20 countries which are coming from Europe. So I think, and people getting more old, they need more medical instrument and healthcare products for this. I even need my glasses. This is an wider board. This is also a medical product, because then I can see much, much more better with my glasses on it. And I think those 3 topics that I'm not afraid to bring Schnell LiFi to make it really happen. So thank you very much. Our CIO Suthe will tell you more about the product. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Mr. Mario Cristiani. So as an important part of healthcare treatment, the hospital is facing the need of digital transformation. So I would like to introduce now Loïc Royer, which is Huawei network expert, to bring a keynote speech on joint solution introduction, whole optical hospital solution, to see how Huawei's passive technologies, Wi-Fi 6 and LAN, Optical Lan, will help digital transformation in healthcare industry. Please, Loïc.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. So my name is Loïc Royer. I'm working for Huawei for 8 years now. I'm in charge of promoting the connectivity solutions. So what I will do today is to introduce you our solutions in optical, especially dedicated for hospitals, in a few slides. So this is the agenda. Challenges and trends, solution, successful cases, and just an overview of a portfolio. So today, what are the challenges in the hospital? We've got some hospitals, new hospitals coming today with different challenges, especially to consider the different services. We need to today to consider the different services that are delivered in silo. Each one needs a dedicated network. We've got usually some traditional solutions based on the copper cabling system, on the switches, and this is today something hard to expand. We've got some limitations in terms of cabling system today, especially related to the copper cables, which is limited to 100 meters between active devices and users and services. Also, wireless, especially Wi-Fi, today is becoming a trend, and especially IoT and Wi-Fi convergence is really becoming a trend. As you can see here, the Wi-Fi and IoT will really expand in the near future. We'll get more and more usage of these wireless technologies. We need, of course, to consider all the different devices to connect. And today and tomorrow, they will be more and more connected by wireless technologies. So what do we propose? So we still have some solutions based on traditional solutions, but today what we promote is a fiber. Fiber is really a good solution, a good alternative for hospital network infrastructure. So as you can see here, the fiber can support really high bandwidth. If you consider the technology behind GPON, XGS-PON, we can reach high-speed networks, high-speed bandwidth. Also, in terms of distance, the fiber helps us to go to long coverage, long distance. We are talking about several kilometers. You compare several kilometers to 100 meters, like the challenge we need to face today. It's really something really green networks. It really helps to develop, to support green networks. So the technology behind is GPON, and what we promote today is the passive optical LAN. Passive optical LAN is an alternative to deliver some campus networks, so especially for hospitals. What is the architecture is really a passive optical network. So you just need to deliver optical from the main local room to the user, to the different services. Everything is really passive. You've got some materials, active products, which are called OLT in the main technical room. And from the OLT, you can address all the different services you can get in the hospital. You just need to install an adapter, what we call the ONU, which will transform the signal from optical to the different services, especially in Ethernet or Wi-Fi. So this is a key technology. Why? Because it's really a simplified technology which really help to simplify the deployment, to simplify the management, and to simplify the maintenance. It's really a reliable technology because you are using some carrier class equipment. It's really a stable technology, really adapted for hospitals. And it's really scalable in terms of bandwidth, in terms of usage, and it's really a lifespan of several years compared to copper, which usually need to be replaced after 10 years. So if you consider the hospital campus, and especially some areas like the sick room, we will deliver some optical fiber up to the different areas. So one fiber to the sick room, as you can see here. Then you can address all the different services in the sick room. You can have some materials, some fiber with ONU installed also in the operation room, surgery room. And here we will also integrate some wireless technology, especially LiFi, LiFi could be really adapted for that kind of critical area. In the room or in the common area, we could deploy some wireless technologies like Wi-Fi 6, so either in the sick room or in the corridors. And especially, everything will be managed in a central point. What you can see on the left part, in the technical room, you will got all the intelligence that will be managed from a central point, together with a management tool, what we call eSight. So the technology today is based on a GPON and XGS-PON. So you can get 10 gig symmetrical from one point to another. And tomorrow we'll get 50 GPON. So 50 GPON is already available, but it will be ready released in a few years, in 2 years. So eSight is really the key point in terms of management, because it will help to deliver the solutions, even for IT personnel that don't know the technologies. It will help to do the operation and maintenance, all the maintenance and the inspection on the network. So you can do it really remotely also. So we introduce also Wi-Fi, because as you noticed in the previous slides, Wi-Fi is becoming a trend today, and especially in the hospitals. I don't know if you have been to the hospitals, but usually when you have to stay for several days or several weeks in the hospital, you are usually suffering from the poor quality of Wi-Fi in the hospitals. So it's why today hospitals are considering this technology for the patients, also for the staff in the hospitals. And Wi-Fi 6 is becoming the trend today, and especially with Huawei, we've got a tremendous product that can really help to get more bandwidth, more concurrent users connected to the same IP, and get some really good performance. So together with the optical fiber, we can have some wireless usage. Also, what we promote is the convergence of IoT and Wi-Fi. So when you deploy your wireless infrastructure, it's not only to consider Wi-Fi usage, it's also to consider some IoT usage, like ESL, electronic shelf label for the retail, for example, or for hospitals, you could consider some managing some assets, managing some prevention about baby in the hospitals. So several usage you can consider when deploying the wireless infrastructure. So later you will see the presentation on LiFi. LiFi is also something to consider in terms of integration together with a POL solution. So it's really complementary solutions. And if you consider Huawei, so we are really a key player on the POL technology. We are really a key player on Wi-Fi, and we can promote some end-to-end solutions. And especially where we need to deploy some GPON, XGS-PON technologies, we have integrated that kind of technologies directly in some of our IP. So you don't need to deploy necessary an adapter VONU. You can really have the GPON or XGS-PON directly integrated on the IP. And I think we are really the only one vendor today to support that kind of solutions. So just one successful case I can mention here is an hospital in Spain that we have been deployed in the past. The idea was really to have a simple infrastructure based on these technologies. And you can see here on the diagram that we have deployed one fiber to the room in order to support all the different services, so CCTV, TOIP, and so on. So the customer value was really to get some fast deployment and flexible expansion. Also, the cost is really a driver. When we consider this technology, it's often because of the cost savings, because you don't need to consider some technical rooms in all the different floors. You have really some benefits in terms of energy consumption. You have some benefits in terms of space, because you need to just install one fiber in the room, in the sick room. In the past, you were often obliged to deploy some copper cables. So it's really a key advantage to consider that kind of technologies. The portfolio, I will go fast on this one. So today, Huawei is one of the only vendor able to provide end-to-end solutions. We are a key player in these different areas, especially in optical transmission and Wi-Fi. So we've got a large portfolio regarding the OLT, and we can really adapt to any scenario. Also for the terminal materials, we've got some different equipment adapted for different usage. We are also able to support the passive infrastructures, the optical distribution network infrastructure. For Wi-Fi, we were the first one to launch a Wi-Fi 6 product on the market. And today, we are announcing a new generation of Wi-Fi 6 AP that you can see here that will be very adapted also for the hospital market. So I will not go into too much details about that, but we can really adapt to any scenario, including indoor and also outdoor. If you consider large hospitals with different buildings, you can also offer some wireless connectivity from outdoor. As a summary, so this is the key benefits you can get considering that kind of technologies. So it's really not a new solution, but a technology which is already mature, that we have adapted to the enterprise market, and especially for that kind of scenario like hospitals, but also it could be hotels, for example. It can really cover long distance, which really simplify the deployment of the infrastructure. And you invest for a long time, usually for 30 years, compared to 10 years with copper. So you really protect the investment, and you will be able to evolve in terms of bandwidth. And you also simplify the management, because you've got one central point of management together with the tools we offer. You can really be reactive to the issue you can get. So it's really a reliable solution that will bring also new usage, especially considering IoT and Wi-Fi convergence. So we've got today in France several use cases related to poll together with Wi-Fi, and we should accelerate this year because it's really the trend. So really, I invite you to consider that kind of technologies for hospitals. So thank you very much. I will hand over to our partner to discuss about LiFi, which is really complementary to that kind of solutions, and we should later integrate that kind of LiFi solutions with our POL product.
Thank you, Loic, for this introduction. So the optical networks work with LiFi, which can adapt to some hospital multiple connections scenarios, like surgery rooms and ICU. How it works. I would like to introduce and have a warm welcome to Mr. Sudhir Sridharan, which is the CEO of Schnell LiFi, to bring the keynote and speech on Schnell LiFi technology, the application advantage in the healthcare industry, and the synergy with Huawei. Please, Mr. Sudhir Sridharan.
Thank you very much. Okay, I'm the guy who gives you all the nice juicy stuff to talk about and question me and quiz me, but I'm happy to do that. Today what we are going to talk about is essentially Schnell LiFi. Schnell in German just means fast. LiFi is light fidelity, essentially means what you're able to do with Wi-Fi, all of those same stuff you should be able to do with LiFi. And I'll walk you through the advantages of LiFi and how we are complementary to Wi-Fi. We've coined ourselves a nice, cool sort of a slogan, which is communication at the speed of light, essentially because these devices use light to communicate as opposed to radio frequency, which is used by the traditional Wi-Fi routers, etc. Yeah, like I said, LiFi is short for light fidelity. It's a wireless communication technology, transmits data with very high speeds over visible, ultraviolet, infrared spectrums. The technology essentially works by switching the LEDs inside those hotspots on and off at a rate which is so fast that is negligible or cannot be seen by the human eye, which gives light the ability to transmit data. The advantages, like I said, has a wider bandwidth channel. It's a no-brainer. Radio frequencies have a restriction of a bandwidth channel, and light does not have that restriction, which means it has an unlimited bandwidth channel, which is why governments all across the world are interested. They are obviously working out how to introduce this in various countries. One of the key functions of LiFi is that it is not interfering with any electromagnetic sensitive environments. As an example, if you are actually sitting in an aircraft, they actually ask you to switch off your mobile phones. As an example, if you are in a hospital environment, they would ask you to switch off your mobile phones. One of the reasons they ask you to do this, as you can rightly understand, is because your Wi-Fi is interfering with their devices or instruments, which then starts fluctuating, gives them wrong readings, or gives them wrong messages, etc., etc. This is the reason they ask you to switch it off. Now, since we are talking about healthcare today, I'll remain focused on it. In a hospital environment, today we are talking about telemedicine, where doctors can put on just a glass, look at Skype or whatever telecommunication and talk. But in a practical sense, how is it going to happen? How is the connectivity going to come into that hospital room? Is it going to be Wi-Fi? No. You don't want a doctor operating on you or doing a heart surgery on you and his heart machines not performing well because of Wi-Fi waves, right? In this scenario, you will have LiFi coming in. This is why the technology is so hot. Or this is one of the reasons why we are introducing it into the healthcare segment. Of course, it has higher transmission speeds, which means as high as you want it to go. As an example, one of the reasons we use Huawei is because it has an extremely fast backbone of fiber, as he rightly explained, which is robust, has a higher bandwidth, extremely fast speeds, penetrates wherever they want it to go. We can make it work with anything that provides a faster speed inside a surgery room. So as an example, if we have a Huawei backbone, we can make it work at 100 megabits per second, which is really fast. Are we going to have more faster versions of it? Of course, yes. And the advantage that we would have if we use LiFi in a room which is intended to have confidential information is that LiFi cannot be hacked. As an example, if you have to hack through a LiFi network, which is just a light-to-light network, you can imagine it's not an easy task to do for a hacker. He'll actually have to come below the light spot to hack it, in which case he's a pretty bad hacker. Hackers would want to hack it, which is outside the room. The light cannot transmit data outside the room. It can only move from one point to the other. The biggest excitement obviously has happened because the US Federal Communications Commission has warned of a potential spectrum crisis, notably because a lot of telecommunications players are getting themselves a larger bandwidth allocated. If this keeps happening, as we keep moving from, let's say, 4G, 5G, 6G, and then next what? What's going to happen? Because if you keep eating out spectrum allocation like this, very soon you will run out of any allocation for military. Very soon you will run out of spectrum allocation for aviation and so on and so forth, which means sensitive environments will not have spectrum allocation. And this is why a photonics network or light-based networks will be the future. We will see mankind move away from radio frequency into light-based communications. So this is just a report. Global light fidelity market is expected to reach approximately $92 billion by 2026. It is growing at an extremely fast rate. The government adoption for this is massive, approximately 64%. And we are seeing this jump especially come from these particular industry verticals. Industry 4.0, healthcare, aerospace, automobile, and defense. Essentially, as I put it, this is a technology which is extremely sensitive and information to all of these verticals. Obviously, we are going to have a spectrum crunch where you will have more IoT devices come into your house, come into industrial spaces, come into offices. How are you going to run robotics, day-to-day internet? How are you going to run anything around your environment with just one Wi-Fi connectivity? Do you feel safe with running everything on that? Do you want robotics or network that is running robotics to get hacked? Do you want to use this in your factory? The answer is a clear no. No one's going to do that. Everyone is going to move towards secure connectivity. One of the biggest blockages that you see at the moment, which is not propelling industrial IoT, is security. They're not very, very sure that their devices and robotics are going to be secured by just running on Wi-Fi, which is ultimately not controlled by them. Of course, like I said, there is enhanced security, limitless flexibility, electromagnetic interference free. There is a common perception with everyone that it is a green technology. If you ask me, would I actually say it's a green technology? I would say I'm not sure, but I can be sure of the fact that it does not affect my health. Does Li-Fi affect my health? Everyone knows the answer for it. I don't think I have to answer that. But does Li-Fi, does light affect health? You know the answer for it. I don't have to say it again. Yeah, like I said, these are our key markets. Healthcare, smart cities, augmented reality, indoor positioning systems. You will find this happening very soon on these verticals. Healthcare will be the first vertical that will start adopting it because it's a product that is a no-brainer for the healthcare. They need it. There is an extremely high demand for it at this point of time. We see a very large growth with the fiber and 5G coming in. With fiber and 5G, you have a lot of customers opening up, which is one of the reasons to walk in close to Huawei and work closely with them. Customers will start using optical networks, but if you look at the last mile of the optical network, at the end, what are they using? What are you using even if your office is having fiber optic below in your basement? You're still using a Wi-Fi. Do you want to use a Li-Fi or do you want to use a secure network which provides the full speed of that fiber optic in your basement? The answer is a yes. What's the solution to it? It's Li-Fi. Yeah, these are some technical jargon, but I think one of the things that I would like you to take a look at is obviously the temperature range, which means we can make it work from -40 degrees to +85 degrees Celsius, which means it can work really well in cold environment and extremely warm environment. So think about it from, I don't know, the Middle East to really hot Australia, to really cold New Zealand from where I come. But yeah, it can work in all of these environments. These are some technical terms for network engineers, but I think the one that you would love is it's the current hotspots that we are demonstrating now have got a speed of 100 megabit per second. There's no other device out there in the market that can give you that speed. Of course, any of you guys should be able to try it out as well today. This is just the team sitting behind it. It's a German company. So I would say, yeah, these are just some pretty faces, just in case you want to cover them. We offer, obviously, direct customer support. So in this case, what we are doing is working closely with Huawei, and we'll offer direct customer support to Huawei customers. Yeah, basically, we're giving freedom to Huawei and their resellers to sell. Not focus on technology or technical issues. We will give them the ability to sell, and we'll support the technology. And basically, because internally we are very well equipped to do it. This is the Huawei Demo Day or the demonstration that you'll see. At the moment, we have all of this set up. This is a typical hospital environment. If you look at it on what I said, you have all of these fiber optics coming from the cloud right into the hospital lobby. You might want to have some form of a Wi-Fi. All of these blue links that you see are their Wi-Fi. This is not a sensitive environment. It can work. It was not going to affect any of these instruments here. So as an example, if you're visiting your old parents or old relatives on a bed, you want to get them to do a Skype with someone else, you might as well be happy using your own mobile phone and Wi-Fi here. But this is a place it will start going wrong. All of these devices need connectivity. All of these devices will soon start talking to the cloud as you keep looking at more and more advanced telecommunications supporting these devices. As IoT enters the surgery rooms, Wi-Fi will become obsolete. No one will use Wi-Fi inside these rooms, especially you're looking at a scenario where telemedicine is just around the corner. How are you going to do telemedicine with Wi-Fi inside it? It's not advisable at all. Every hospital is avoiding that situation, and this is where you will start seeing Li-Fi. The good part is that our devices are 100% compatible with Huawei's devices, so it's just a plug and play. This is one of the reasons we are here, to work closely with Huawei, to enhance their offering, to take it straight to the surgery rooms, to help our customers out. These are some pain points and facts. I think, as I explained, the pain point is the last mile, which is a wireless link inside a surgery room, is still Wi-Fi, although you have fiber optic and 5G at the moment. But the future will see Li-Fi coming in, which is the solution that we are presenting. So we are essentially replacing all those wireless links inside the surgery room with Li-Fi. This is a second scenario once again. So typically what would happen in a hospital if it's a Huawei customer who's going to actually buy the solution? So the Huawei customer is actually going to have two scenarios. One scenario is going to be Wi-Fi in non-sensitive areas, and Li-Fi in sensitive areas, which is all the medical devices, all sensitive devices will work on Li-Fi, all the non-sensitive devices will work on Wi-Fi. Just one quick note. Perhaps all of the Wi-Fi networks have to adhere to some sort of a country regulation, which at the moment is spectrum allocation, I would imagine. Li-Fi doesn't have to stick to any particular regulation at this point of time because it does not work with any sort of spectrum allocation. I think I have spoken about most of these points, but I guess the point that I would like to make once again is we can coexist with all of Huawei's 5G Wi-Fi devices. I would say 5G or not, we can still coexist. It's 100% compatible. Yep. One of the use cases that you might want to probably highlight is we have been working with customers to provide them wireless connectivity for telemedicine. We have been working with customers to provide them wireless connectivity for sensor equipments, for closed circuit television, etc. You might have a situation in the future where you will see wireless transmission happening probably with support staff in the hospitals, as well as with, let's say, an ambulance wireless as well in the future. Just a quick note about the company, else my boss is not going to like it. So the AIPC Global is based out of Germany, basically a group of companies out of which AIPC Global works with large customers such as Airbus, Kuehne+Nagel, Generali, Allianz, so on and so forth. We collaborated with Fraunhofer, as you might be aware, is a very large R&D organization to work on this particular technology. Yep, and that's me. Do you want to do it now? Thank you. Do you want to do it now? What do I provide? Do you? The backbone from the hotspots to the cloud, or this, yeah, that's Huawei. Right? Cool. Okay.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sudhir. It was very insightful to give us the key advantages of the applications in hospital, and the advantages, moreover, in very sensitive situations in the hospital. So now I would like to introduce you, and Mr. Sudhir will introduce us the demo that we've got here in Huawei Paris Open Lab. So let's go to the demo. Thanks a lot. Est-ce que au moment du démo, vous voulez juste signer ou voulez dire un mot en plus pour le remercier?
Oh non, on va signer. Il n'y a plus de mots là.
C'est bon.
Okay, one of the applications we are presenting today is the augmented reality with the Li-Fi hotspots. The Li-Fi hotspots are the ones that you're seeing set up on the ceiling. And the augmented reality kit that we normally equip, let's say, doctors who want to get trained up, industrial training, any form of confidential training and data that you want to get the gentleman trained on, in the future would work with something of this sort. What you see on myself is an augmented reality glass. What you see on my shoulders is a hotspot that is talking to the hotspot on the ceiling. These hotspots are just relaying secure transmission to each other. The advantage of this over any market devices of augmented reality or 3D glasses that you purchase at this moment is that if you actually walk or steal this glass, if you actually were to hack through the data that you want to do with any market available devices, it's easy. But if you just steal this, it's of no use. It just, as it is out of the room, it's just a glass. For it to work, it needs to come under this hotspot, which means, let's say, as an example, in an extremely confidential training room, as an example, let's say an engine room or some sort of a scientific training or some sort of a really complex medical training, you do not want the guys to run away with the glass, steal this, or hack into that network. This is possible by having these hotspots talk to each other. No matter what you do, you cannot steal the data unless you come down below this ceiling hotspot. And that's really how the technology works. I will just tell you, and the rest of it is quite simple. Essentially, it works as any augmented reality glass. So we can make this work with any market available glasses. Could be Huawei glasses, could be anything, RealWear or so on and so forth. So I guess what you see in augmented reality is as you keep turning your head, devices or content changes. That's exactly what we are trying to demonstrate here. We're doing it with something called markers. So markers are as an example, if these markers were to be kept at different locations in the room, the content will change in my glass, and that's what you're going to see on the screen. So as an example, as I keep looking into this marker, what you see would be a video that should probably be coming up now on the screen. Just give me a second because I've been moving around. Yeah. So at the moment, you should be able to see something which is showing a box with a highlight, which shows on the screen that you're seeing should show communication at the speed of light, Schnell LiFi, with a black box, which is just an image. And this would change into another box, which shows our LiFi hotspot. As I keep looking at this marker, if I put this marker down, it will change the box over there and should show you something which says communication at the speed of light, another image basically. Now, the idea is if I actually steal this, none of this images is possible. This data is actually protected. If I keep looking at this marker, it should show you a video. So essentially this, and you should be able to see the video highlighted out there on the screen. Essentially what's happening is the content keeps changing as I keep looking at different points. The advantage of this over any other available device in the market, like I said, is number one, security. And number two is it's an easily programmable content. Yeah, I'll just move over to that side and show another use case. Give me a second. So this is possibly why we are very well known in the market. It's a no-brainer. You have the LiFi hotspots on the ceiling. You have the LiFi hotspot connected to a laptop. The same can be connected to an iPad, etc., etc. So imagine a situation or a scenario where you are actually in a conference room. You do not want to allow anyone to hack through the network of that conference room. Let's say it's a board meeting that's going on. They are discussing some important topics. They are having some important data that's being shared there. some crook of an employee sitting out there wants to hack through that network because he's whatever and he wants to sell it off in the market. It's not possible if you do this, which is you set up these Li-Fi hotspots in that boardroom. You set up each of those board members' laptops, phones, etc., with what we call as a slave. We've just said this is the master hotspot, this is the slave. The slave only listens to the master. If you pull this away, this laptop will stop functioning, and I'll show you how. If you put any object in its way, yes, it will stop functioning. So all that you have to make sure is that it's clear of any objects. And it keeps speaking to the one on the ceiling. The advantage of let's say a Wi-Fi over this, in this particular case, is that you could still hack through a Wi-Fi sitting outside of the room. But for this, you cannot hack it, which means you'll have to literally come with some sort of a device, push it somewhere here, and do whatever hacking you have to do. So it basically is a stupid idea to do it. Just going to run a video to try and show you essentially how it works. Is it can pull through the video really fast. Yep, as you can see, we've just started the video. Whatever is the max data rate that it is getting on top is the same that it is relaying. If the data rate that it's getting on top, let's say via Huawei telecommunications network, if it's 100 megabits per second, this video is actually getting transmitted at 100 megabits per second. If I actually put my hand over this, the video would stop buffering. Just give it a second because you've seen it, because you've seen that it's buffered really fast. It's too fast. So essentially how YouTube works is it picks up the data, buffers in, and then keeps showing, yeah, now it's stopped. So as soon as I leave my hand, normally if you had a simpler Wi-Fi network, etc., as soon as I leave my hand, it might not buffer. It will take a few seconds to pick up the connection again. But if you see, it's faster. And this is what probably is a no-brainer, which is its light. It's much, much more faster. You see the video buffering rate, it's really quick. Yeah, so this works. This is a Huawei laptop, I would imagine. Yes, it is. And it works with a Huawei laptop. This is essentially what we are trying to demonstrate.